Welcome back for another episode of the Big O Podcast. I am your host, Julian Ortiz, and today I am joined by one half of the Good Rookies podcast, someone whose love for Toronto sports came way before we had to introduce 2 new area codes because the city is just bursting at the seams, and someone whose hot takes are so hot, they register higher than a Carolina Reaper on the Scoville scale, Miss Nelly J. Nelly J, how are you doing today?
Mr. Julian Ortiz, how you doing, brother? I am excited to be on your amazing podcast, the Big O Podcast. If y'all ain't listening and tuning into Julian every week, you are missing out.
Man, I need you to do some ad reads for me for my podcast, because that was phenomenal. That was great.
Hey, you know what I do, buddy. You know what I do.
Oh, listen, I mentioned it off the top, but I want to mention it once more. I mean, obviously, one half. I've had the other half. I've had you both on before. The Good Rookies podcast to kick things off. You know, if people want to listen to the Good Rookies podcast, where can we find it, and what can they expect with their listening experience?
Yeah, so first of all, we everywhere, like everywhere, and I mean everywhere. So we're at all podcast platforms. So for the audio, we got our YouTube channel. You can go on there, subscribe. So when we post up new episodes, you can always listen in or watch us, up to you. We talk about sports and culture, y'all. So we talk about all the hot takes for sports. We also like to bring life into sports as well, because there's a lot of things that are happening in sports affect our society. So we talk about women's rights, Black Lives Matter. We even talk about the effects of athletes being activists and stuff like that. And our guests, oh my gosh, we always have guests that are doing amazing things for the culture. So we've had entrepreneurs, we've had ex-NHL players, we've had TV analysts. So we have people that are doing amazing things, and also we promote their business, we promote their stuff. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to talk some sports and culture, holla at us, yo. We're open to everybody.
I mean, I've spoken to you guys about this, and I've spoken to Fahim about this, your other half. You know, the podcast game that we're in right now, especially in the market in which we are in, is all about building community. Like, this is not a me versus you. This is not a East Coast, West Coast thing. This is not a, if you listen to my podcast, you can't listen to the Good Rookies podcast. That's not at all. We have different takes. We may touch on the same topics, but there's always going to be something that's a little bit different. And
absolutely.
Based on what you just said as far as what they can expect for the podcast, I want to dive into a few things that are up your alley as far as things to discuss that are not just broadly sports, but have other meanings as well. And that is going to be the plan. However, obviously there have been some things that have happened in the NBA that we just can't ignore.
Absolutely.
And let's get right into it. Kawhi Leonard out indefinitely with a knee sprain. Clippers fear it is a torn ACL. Now, you know my love for the LA Clippers and where it, sort of
love or your lack of love.
Well, I mean, it's, if love was a 10 and not love was a 1, I'd be like a -50. So you know how I feel about the LA Clippers, but Kawhi's a competitor. Obviously, you hate to see this. Initial thoughts when seeing this report that Kawhi Leonard out with a potential torn ACL.
So if you're an NBA fan, you probably had the worst case of like multiple personality, because legit, no, real talk. I went to bed on a high. I saw Kevin Durant do 49, 17, and I think 10 in 48 minutes. It was the most, I mean, as a fan, I was in awe at what he did. Okay. Then you wake up and, I get alerts to my phone because I'm a sports junkie like that. So I wake up, okay, Julian, and I look at my phone this morning and I literally was like, I swore like I was grieving. I see alert, Kawhi Leonard out game 5, alert, CP3. And I'm like,
yeah.
Right? Because for me, I want, again, like, no offense to Utah Jazz, I wanted to see a Kawhi Leonard and PG-13 against CP3. I really want to see that, only because, last year with Doc, things didn't happen. So I wanted to see them kind of surpass that with Ty Lue. Anyways, but that's just my personal preference. Sorry, Utah Jazz fans. But so seeing that, and for me, like, I'm rooting for, hey, Nets fans, I get it. I love The Nets are great, but I actually want to see CP3 win a ring, and he has the worst luck, Julian, man. Like, come on. Like, this guy has been killing the game. Like, he has been the floor general, C point God. And I just feel like it's so terrible to see this man have another bad luck playoff performance. So I have had a lot of emotions today. I'm not gonna lie. I was high last night, and then I woke up and I was like sad, really, for the NBA.
So I'm with you with CP3. That's my guy. I love CP3. He probably has the best case scenario because since they've already moved on, that they're gonna have some time to rest. And while this series is tied 2-2 with the LA Clippers, it's way different because if they go 7 games, we're talking 5-6 days potentially. CP3 is going to be out for a little bit, obviously, because of the health and safety protocols. It's has something to do with COVID. I mean, he may not miss the series. He definitely may miss a couple of games for sure. But you have to feel bad for Kawhi Leonard in this situation to go from, leaving Toronto, winning a championship, going to LA because he wanted to be close to home, bringing in Paul George, going through everything that the Clippers have gone through. And for an organization that really doesn't mean a whole lot to the city of LA, and I'm being serious in this and I'm not trying to, dog the team, but the reason people go to Clippers games right now is because they're affordable. They're more affordable than going to a Lakers game. And right now people are going to Clippers games because, we haven't had sports in 18 months, at least live in person. So people are going at any chance that they can to go see some NBA games. Kawhi Leonard was on the verge of doing something that was absolutely incredible and had the opportunity to have, as you stated earlier, one of the greatest storylines of a Western Conference final. First time that they make it out of the to the Western Conference Finals. First time that CP3 is going to get there. One of those amazing people are going to play in the NBA Finals and represent the West and potentially go up against one of the bigger juggernauts in the Brooklyn Nets. And it sucks because you now have 2 guys who are now out. We're going to see how PG-13 decides that he's going to, be able to handle this. We don't know how Paul George is going to be able to do it. We're going to see a lot more pressure on Ty Lue. This is not the momentum the Clippers needed. However, the great Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith always says this about the great Stephen A. Smith always says this about the Dallas Cowboys. They will find a way to make it that they don't win. Something always happens. They have the worst luck. And right now, this is the LA Clippers once again running into terrible luck. And I think this seals their fate. And there's no way, even if they make it to the Western Conference Final, they are not going to an NBA championship.
I agree. There is no way. And you're right. My only hope, like you said, for CP3 is the fact, like you said, they have time, right? Yeah. And, even if he misses 5 days, we've heard that COVID affects you. Like if he's tested positive, I'm not sure yet, but we've heard that players say it's the worst thing ever for some players that had it this year. And even when you come back to play, it changes your stamina. It changes a lot of things in you, right?
Yep.
So we don't know how it's going to affect him. But honestly, I'm praying for CP3 and Kawhi because I'm hoping, remember, it's all fear. It's not confident yet about Kawhi yet. So right now they fear it's an ACL tear. There's a fear, but they're going to get tests done today and we'll know, I think, tomorrow for sure. So let's just all give positive vibes to Kawhi. No, honestly, guys, we have to just ask universe to give him some luck because, Harden going down first, Kyrie going down, AD going down, LeBron almost went down, Embiid went down. It's just, it's a lot. And, as fans, we look forward to the NBA playoffs. That's all we care about. The regular season, that appeases, the media and ad companies and all that stuff. But the actual fans, we care about the playoffs, right? So we want to see our stars play. That's all we want. That's all we care about, right? So anyway, yeah.
You brought up a good point. And this was another list or on the list of things I want to talk about for the NBA. Quick hot take here. LeBron James comes out and says, this is the reason why they push to have a later start for the NBA season and not start in December to get the Christmas games and all of those fun things, because the bubble affected a lot of people. COVID affected a lot of people. The later start, obviously, they deemed would have been better for player safety, better and for their health. Do you think the NBA made a mistake? Not financially, because obviously you're not going to win that, but did they make a mistake starting the season early when it comes to players' safety?
Yeah, actually, they made two mistakes, actually, Julian. I think in the bubble, they should have had less games in the bubble. I
Okay.
think each team played 8 games. I don't think that was needed. The top 8 teams are the top 8 teams. And even if like what team that was ninth got into the eighth spot, like I just feel like that should have been a playoff bubble. That's it. If you didn't make it in the top 8 in the West, too bad. Like honestly, I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I feel like they played too many games in the bubble because the playoffs went until October, bro. That is a late playoff series, right? So if the NBA said, you know what, listen, guys, we want to start. If they planned for 2 years in advance, they probably would have had a better result, right?
Right.
So saying, you know what, the bubble guys, okay, we want to end it by September 30th to give the players at least October, November, and at least half of December to come back. That's an extra how many months, right?
Right.
But I just think that they made two mistakes. The bubble was way too long. I think the bubble should have happened. Personally, it wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. I think with COVID and the pandemic and the riots and the activism and all the things happening last year, they could have said, you know what, let's do a little tournament for a little charity, right? Do a tournament for charity and call it a day, right? Do like an all-star bubble, optional showcase tournament, like we'll draft 10 teams. If you want to play, it's your choice, but have like a fun little tournament play to appease the media,
So
right?
no championship.
No, I don't think so because
Wow.
no, do you know why? Because I really feel that the bubble messed everything up because
Sure.
we're not going to, because the fact of the bubble will not stop until 2023. So this year's messed up. Next year's messed up because players are injured now for next year.
Yep.
So now 2 seasons are going to be messed up because the bubble play. 2 seasons where if they could have had a 1 month tournament, everyone come in July, go home in August, you start November, right? You more so my thing is that the bubble has messed up now 2 additional seasons where they could have had no bubble and had 2 full season, maybe add the mid tournament, whatever you want to add, and have healthy players. That's just my opinion.
What you're saying makes sense.
It's just a theory.
But no, what you're saying makes sense. But according to the NBA, it doesn't make dollars. And that's the reason why we had the bubble, right? I mean, Zion Williams was not in a 8th place seeded team. So what did they want to do if you're going to come back for a bubble is showcase your new star talent. They wanted to give Zion an opportunity for the Pelicans to make the playoffs. It obviously ended up working. That's where you get all of these extra games for the bubble, especially with the West, where they have teams vying for a spot and the East didn't have it. But what they really tried to do is, I mean, they took an enormous amount of loan in order to be able to get the money to do this. And so what they needed to do is they needed to capitalize and try to make some money as much as they could, or at least not lose as much money, which is why we saw the bubble, which is why we saw the early start. They wanted to get the Christmas games in. They wanted to get their 72 game season, try to operate as exactly. That's it. It's about dollars.
It's all about dollars.
And that's how the NBA is moving forward, right? Like they're a huge organization, a huge company, and they're all about making dollars, and they're not going to see their bottom line get fixed until probably 2025, 2026 at the earliest when it comes to them getting back to normal, because ticket sales, full venues, players being out, contracts being signed, like they're going to be reeling from this for such a long time. And the NBA is always going to operate in the way of what makes us the most money. The NHL, they did a bubble. They also started in the 3rd week of January. We didn't see as many injuries in a full contact sport. Mm-hmm. It is obviously not necessarily the same. You had guys doing more in the NBA, but I mean, if you said it, LeBron did go down. I mean, it's the reason why the Lakers were in a play-in game. They lost AD and they lost LeBron for at least 3 weeks. Both of them were gone. They had to go get Drummond and hope that they could try to fix some things. Clay got injured before the season even began. So you start to look at all the star players that haven't. The only thing I'm really surprised at is Steph Curry stayed healthy, because the way that the season went, Curry would have been the guy to go down and miss like a huge amount of games.
He did though, because I have Steph on my fantasy team. I actually made it to the finals and I lost. I lost because Jaylen Brown went down. Jaylen, brother. brother. I could have been the first woman to. Anyways, it's okay, Jill. I forgive you. But Steph Curry, he missed a few games because of tailbone injury.
Sure.
His tailbone injury, so he missed like a few games. But again, you're right. But I would say in fantasy, Julian, every fantasy team this year had a lot. Like it was disgusting. Like legit, you only won if you had the least injuries.
Sure.
That was fantasy this year. That was fantasy. Like,
yeah.
So my thing is that I totally understand. I know it's money. I know it's greed. I'm not denying that. I just think that because of this, the players will not trust the NBA. They've now broken trust between the players and the league's decision making. Because remember, the players didn't want to start until January. They said, okay, fine, it's more money, we'll start. But now moving forward, I'm curious to see how are they going to now interact, right? Because LeBron tweeted out, yo, I told y'all, you know what I'm saying? He tweeted out today. So I just think that the NBA, I get it. They were struggling with money, but Julian, everyone was like, NBA, you're not the only company or business struggling. We all were struggling. So why can't y'all take your L like everyone else and move forward? Like, I just think that they were being way too greedy and looking at the numbers. And now we have amazing, talented players going down because they didn't get enough rest. And that's why, like, for me, from when the season started, I already knew. I'm like, y'all, I actually put at the podcast, I'm like, Fahim, we're going to see the most injuries ever in the NBA because of this. And I mean, I'm not smart, but I think anyone could assume this was going to happen. Like, no one was shocked about this, but it sucks when you see players like Kawhi, CP3, and all these amazing, talented AD. Like, oh my gosh, when he went down, I was like, man, that sucks. Like, it's just too much. It's just too much for me. I'm sorry.
It's interesting because there were some sports doctors who came out. And obviously the NBA had the shortest offseason in any of the four major sports of all time. When they talk about strikes or shortened seasons, this NBA season had the shortest offseason of all time, which is absolutely crazy. But sports doctors said you're going to see a lot more potential injuries to athletes who play at such a high level, not early in the season, but their bodies are going to wear down as the season goes on. Because a lot of people were worried about, okay, LeBron just finished winning the Mickey Mouse Championship 2 months ago. He's going to miss the first month. He's going to get injured. Well, no, he rolls his ankle. He gets like a high ankle sprain just a month before the playoff starts. But it essentially ends any chance that they have of winning a championship. Same with AD. Same with Jaylen Brown. Same with Kyrie. Our guy Anson Henry on his Twitch stream he had this fantasy draft. And he was asking the audience, should I take Kyrie? And I said, the last thing you want to do is take Kyrie. One,
don't take him.
For sure he's going to get injured. Or two, he's just not going to play in enough games. And as you spoke about with fantasy basketball, players just weren't playing because of this shortened season. But Kyrie Irving, I mean, it was nasty what happened to him. There's a lot of stuff going on with Kyrie.
James Harden too.
James Harden. Well, I mean, James Harden is a whole other sphere for me. He wore like the fat Santa suit to try to get out of Houston so that he could end up playing on the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay, but was that okay? Hold up. Was he actually wearing a suit?
No.
Okay, because I'm like, now I'm like, hold up. I gotta go back and see if he's wearing an actual fat suit.
No,
I feel like
what they said was that he is notoriously like a pregame towel wearer under the shirts, and it looked like he was a little girthier than regular. But listen, we know he wanted to get out of there. He was gonna be out of there. He's much happier in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
They're my favorites. Really quickly, of the remaining teams, who do you think walks away with an NBA championship this year?
Well, you know what? I was telling someone the other day, I look at health equivalent to talent now. Equivalent.
Yeah.
Before, I don't care about what's talent. The best talented team in the NBA are the Brooklyn Nets. No one can deny that. They have the best team. However, when it comes to health, the best health team is the Suns. They're the Suns. So, because remember, even Donovan, he's also not 100%. Like I watched Donovan. He can't do stuff he was doing before. Like he's still kind of wobble. So my favorites, and this is me being subjective, y'all, I want the Suns to play the Brooklyn Nets. That's what I would like to see. However, if Kyrie can't come back, I just don't know if KD and one like Harden will be enough to beat Philly have a strong defensive team. Like they're healthy. So I just don't know. And, I feel so bad because Giannis, the Bucks, though I forgot what those guys. Yeah. No, the Bucks, like, I would love to see Giannis do something, but I can't stand the coach. That coach just irritates me. He doesn't do any
Coach Bud.
adjustments.
Coach Bud.
Coach Bud, nothing personal, brother, but you don't do any adjustments. Sorry. Like that last game, y'all could have pulled it out. Like, I don't know how that happened. Y'all were up by how many points? Anyway, but yeah, so I want to see Nets versus Philly, and I want to see Clippers, hopefully, versus the Suns. And to win that, I'm picking the Suns against the Brooklyn Nets.
Crazy thing is, you and I, before the playoffs started, I think maybe after game 1 or game 2, we wrote the Suns off.
I didn't write them off. I didn't write them off.
We said that if the Lakers were healthy,
yes, I said if they're healthy, yes, yeah. Of course, right. I mean, AD and LeBron, the Suns can't even handle AD, let alone LeBron. Yeah, for sure.
And now they're looking like the arguable favorite. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard is out, they are the favorite to go from the West. Yeah. I don't think there's a team that's going to stand in their way, even if Utah makes it through. I don't think there's anyone who's standing in the way of the Phoenix Suns. But I mean, listen, I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to do it. I think I said this when all of this stuff was happening at the beginning of the season. All they need to do is all three of those guys can win you one game individually against any team they play against.
That's so true.
KD can just go out there. He can have a game, drop 50. Easy money. That's game 1.
Easy money.
James Harden can go out there. He can drop 40, 20, and 7. That's game 2. They've won that. Kyrie, if healthy, can go out there and he can win you a game. They've just won 3 games as individuals. Imagine if they can win as a team. I just don't think there's a team, even if healthy, is going to stop Kevin Durant if he makes it to the final, not being able, taking away that opportunity to win a championship. I just don't see it. KD's going to go into forget God mode. What's the next one? Like creator mode?
Yo, honestly, it's so funny you said that because again, even with KD and Harden, they could win you a ring by themselves. Like they don't need a full
easy
Kyrie. And hence what I was saying, like for me, I think the Bucks got really lucky. They got so lucky because this would have been a swept. If game 3, KD and them didn't just slack off, they would have swept. It would have been a swept anyway. You're right. I think the best player on the planet is Kevin Durant. I've been saying it from day one. People gave me look because the LeBron family. Y'all, I'm not saying LeBron is trash, guys. I love LeBron, but the best player to me is Kevin Durant. He does everything. Like this guy is just he's just insane, man. So best player on the planet. And the second or third best player, Kawhi. I mean, it'd be awesome to see them play because to me, it's like, how the Raptors beat the Warriors and he went down. It'd be good to see like a Kawhi versus, that'd be a good storyline too. But I just feel bad for CP3, man. Because honestly, if they got to play the Utah Jazz without CP3, they're not going to win. But if the Clippers can win, Rudy Gobert, like Donovan Mitchell, like those guys are just too big and strong defensively. However, I just think though, if they play the Clippers and CP3 is out, I think that's a better thing for Suns, right? Because they have more, more balance, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, Mike Conley, he's injured, but he's just chilling and he can come back anytime. And he's also a great addition to that Utah team.
Yeah, that Utah team is ridiculous. I mean, that Utah
team is a good team. The team is good.
So good. And my thing is, and maybe this gives Toronto more credit as we get through this season, because the number one thing anyone south of the border says is, the Raptors won because of injury, right? Injury to the Golden State Warriors. What will be very interesting is to see who wins the NBA championship this year. And then talking about all of the players who were injured and say, are they going to come with that same energy and say, oh, well, the Phoenix Suns only won or the Brooklyn Nets only won because this team is injured? Or are they just going to say, no, you know what? That's just part of the game. They're just the best team in the NBA. Exactly. And if that's the case, then all of the Toronto fans need to just come and just jump down everybody's throats and say, wait a second, don't just stiff us because we're from Canada. It is the story. Every year there's someone who gets injured, who's a major part of a team. It's just the way it goes. Injuries are part of the game. I just find it very interesting the narratives going on right now in the NBA playoffs where they're talking about injuries and, oh, what if, and this, that, and the other. And the 2019 Raptors are just kind of like,
Hello.
Excuse me. Hello.
Hey, guess what? And it's
Yeah.
funny because you said that because I love that, Julie, because you're a Lakers fan. And I appreciate that you're
Yeah.
sticking up for us because, like I said, people, if you are a GM, if you're a coach, health is equivalent to talent.
Yep.
No health, don't talent don't matter without health. Like your health is as important. So to me now, I look at health and talent and who is the best combo. Based on that combo, who can win? You can't look at one or the
Right.
other anymore because health is now a factor. It's a factor.
Father's Day is just around the corner, and you probably need a gift for the hairy dad in your life. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself the Manscaped 4th Generation Performance Package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard right, the 4.0. You know what they say, like father, like son. As families get ready to return to the beach this summer, there is no better time than right now to shed that winter fur, both up top and down below. Sons, daughters, wives, we no longer need to be embarrassed by our fathers when they unleash the messy dad bush. If they haven't gotten the message before, they will when you pick them up, the only male grooming kit they will ever need. Manscaped is the only brand dedicated to below the waist grooming, and their brand new shaving tools just dropped in time for Father's Day. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is now available in the US and in Canada, and it features a 7,000 RPM skin safe technology to keep your balls in check and help reduce manscaping accidents around the world. Want to get creative and maybe design something special? Additional guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4 allow you to trim to your own personal liking. Now you want to take your grooming game to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ears. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM powered 360 degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, tugs in those delicate holes. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulations. Before heading outside, use Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant to keep on your game in the heat. Then, after trimming the lawn and whacking the weeds in the heat, give your beach balls a boost and use the Crop Reviver. For all of those females listening, you'll appreciate this part. Manscaped products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, dye-free, and vegan. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort in boxers to another level. This is the perfect package for you and your dad's perfect package. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TheBigO20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just make sure to use the code TheBigO20. We're dropping the link down below. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. This year, show your original home some love with Manscaped. This is a great segue. I guess we're talking about health and and talent. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, this is driving into women in sports and talking about things that are just more important in sports. Naomi Osaka, high-ranking tennis player, pulled out of the French Open, citing mental health challenges. Didn't want to deal with the media because she felt that she wasn't always portrayed well, didn't like talking to the media after wins or losses, and said, listen, I don't want to be a distraction, so I'm going to go ahead and withdraw myself so I don't have to deal with it, and I don't want to take away from the tournament. And then all of the major tournaments came out supporting her. Yes, we need to do more for our athletes. We need to do more for our female tennis players or tennis players in general. My initial thought for you, number one, is this a bigger deal because this was a female athlete who came out and did this? Would we ever see a male athlete in any major sport decide to sit out due to mental health challenges? And would they been pat on the back the way Naomi Osaka has been? Or would they be sort of crucified in the media and made a bigger deal about the negative aspect?
So that's a good question because the only player, I mean, we've seen NBA players like cuss out media people. Like we saw
Yeah.
RJ Barrett tell the guy, yo, what's your problem? Why are you being so negative though? No,
Yeah.
real talk. We've
Yeah.
seen the epic LeBron meme grabbing his purse and run. No, you saw it. He
Yeah.
walked out. He walked out. He was
Yeah.
like, I am done with y'all. He pretty much said, F all y'all in this room. I'm done. Because, like, again, at the end of the day, the media people, their job is a clout chase. No offense, but they clout.
Sure.
It's clout chase, right? They ask questions to get you antagonized, to get a reaction out of you, and to make you feel like crap. That's what they do. A few of them actually care and ask questions that are thought-provoking and insightful, but the majority of them are like, hey, hey, ha, 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 right?
Yeah.
So I understand. Marshawn Lynch, the epic Marshawn Lynch, when he said, I don't want to get fined. I don't want to get fined, right? But Marshawn obviously has a stronger mental capacity to handle that. Because remember, he didn't want to show up, and then he showed up and said the same word every time, right? Now, we have to respect everyone's mental capacity. Not everyone on the planet has the same mental capacity to handle stress.
Right.
That's why there's different mental ailments and things to help solve mental illness, right? I just think that we're at a point now, we're seeing like Dak Prescott, DeMar DeRozan. A lot of players are speaking about mental health, what they've suffered. And we have to say, hey, listen, guys, if someone is suffering from depression or anxiety and they're saying not today, Julian, I take it as this. I take it as when AD went down, right? Was it a hamstring, right?
Yeah.
When he went down and he grabbed his hamstring and said, I can't play. Imagine a coach said, hey, AD, I don't care. I'm paying you X amount of dollars to play this game.
Yeah.
If you're paying, go on the court. So if we don't do that for physical pain, how dare can someone do that for mental pain? To me, it's the same thing. If someone mentally ill is saying they don't have the mental capacity to do this, trust their word, get a doctor's note, and have them take that time off because it's equivalent to me as a physical ailment.
I like to get a doctor's note. That's like the most like business.
Yeah, get a doctor's note.
Listen, I can't perform today because I hurt myself. I agree. I mean, listen, my thing is, and I love that Naomi Osaka did this, and obviously you mentioned Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan, Dak Prescott, PG, Paul George talked.
Yes,
PG talked about it about the bubble. Mental health is obviously real. We've seen it. Some of us have actually experienced it, especially over the last 18 months. So I don't want to take away anything from what happened with Naomi Osaka. I mean, she may not actually even play in Wimbledon. It's been that bad. And we're starting to see that obviously this meant something to her. My only thing is, was this the right person to help further the cause of mental health awareness? I know a lot of people supported her, but we haven't seen the same sort of follow-up. Week one, it was like everyone had a comment. Everyone was doing something. It's like kind of like the Black Square back last year after all the injustice that happened in the United States, where we saw a lot of support. And we didn't really see anything afterwards being done.
Yeah.
Are we going to fall a victim to the same issues when we talk about mental health, where people are going to say, yes, mental health is important, but not really have the supports in place? Or are we just this is going to be just, same thing over and over again? Yeah, we agree, we support, and then it's like, keep it moving. We have a business to run.
That's a great question, because I did see the French Open said that they try to take a pragmatic approach. They tried to warn her, but I just think that they did a really awful job, because I think that their messaging wasn't empathetic. They were just like, you will get fined $50,000 if you don't show up to media. And if you don't show up again, we're going to, I think after 3 or 4 times, you might be suspended. That to me wasn't being supportive. Yep. That's me saying, hey, woman, get your tail upon the court, right? Get your tail on the court. No, like, real talk. And that's the thing. I think that they weren't nice at first. I think a lot of people are like, oh, man, like, she's a millionaire. Like, she should be fine. Like, people weren't supportive of her until they're like, oh, maybe. And I think a lot of people, especially old school people, they don't believe in a mental health, like, thing. Like, and it's a problem because there's a stereotype with mental health. They think mental health is only one look. No, mental health is all looks, it's all races, it's all creeds, it's all ages. It's not just one guy you saw on TV that was kind of a serial killer. Like, it's everything. No, real talk. They all think it's one extreme case, and it's not like that. People are mentally ill are sweet, they're happy, they're everything. They're human beings, and I think people got to realize that. But I think you're correct. I really think if Naomi was someone, if she wasn't a black woman or black girl or Japanese girl, I don't think the response would have been so aggressive. I think there would have been more understanding, because tennis has a history of treating people of color not in the best light. With Serena Williams, with like a video that came out, which I saw before, when Serena and Venus were younger, and they were asking them, "Do you guys think you can win this?" Like, literally being like jerks to these young, I think they're like maybe 18 then, or 19 or 16, these young girls, fully attacking these little girls, and their father being like, "Actually, we're done with this interview. Let's go, honey." Yeah. Right? So tennis media has not been kind to women of color. That's just what it is. So we can expect them to be nice. They're only nice now because they got checked. Because the culture was like, "Yo, we have your back." Celebrities, Will Smith, we're like, "We got your back, Naomi," right? Okay, maybe we should back off her now. It's a reaction, but the media at first were not nice to Naomi. So I think you're right there. I really feel that because she's a woman of color, they don't believe us sometimes. Like, we will say things, they don't believe us. So I'm hoping that I saw the French Open said that they plan on talking to Naomi and discuss how they can better it, right? And that's the first step, is conversation, right? And Naomi wants to talk to them. They want to talk to her. And I think that's a great first step. I'm just hoping that other fellow tennis players speak up as well, because her by herself won't be enough. She needs other players to support her and support this. Because I really think the media got to get checked. They've been out of pocket for so long, and somebody got to check these guys. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part is that, like, tennis was the wrong sport to have one of its biggest faces come out and talk about mental health. Obviously, as an individual sport, it's cut and dry. I'm not playing today. Well, I forfeit and we move on. When you have a team sport, obviously, I'm going to sit this game out. Kyrie Irving stepped away without telling his coach where he was going to go, but told his teammates, "Listen, I had to do whatever I had to do." And it was treated very differently. Obviously, the media initially talked about, how bad it was that Kyrie just picked up and left, but then understood that, mental health is a big thing. And his players his teammates were the ones who said, "Listen, you got to do what you got to do." And that's all that mattered to Kyrie. Yes. But we didn't really see the outspokenness of like a Roger Federer, for instance, or Novak Djokovic, or if you pick another individual sport, like a Michael Phelps, maybe, where you have like this notable person. I think tennis is one of the most under-marketed sports that you could have, that even when one of your top players speaks out about something.
Not one, the top player in the world.
Yeah,
For women, like, she's the most popular, the most paid female athlete ever. Like,
not the most popular. Serena Williams is still the most popular female tennis player.
Sorry, but I mean, the most paid athlete ever right now the title is under Naomi. But you're right. I do think that, like you said, tennis is, tennis needs, like, no offense, I just think that they didn't understand Naomi's like market value until she did that. And the hold up, like, they're all her fan. Oh, damn. Okay, yeah. let's we'll talk, because they didn't know. They're like, "Oh, whatever. Okay, now we understand." So the French Open, they know what they did. Like, they messed up. They should be like, "Naomi, we're so sorry you're going through this. We understand. Let's talk about this throughout the tournament so we can find a mutual ground." Easily done. Instead, if you don't show up to you're suspected. Like, that to me was a wrong move for them. And I mean, if they had one black person on their team, that wouldn't have happened. We'll talk. Yeah. Hence why I will say people of color need to be in all organizations and groups, because sometimes, no offense, people that aren't person of color don't understand how to respond to us.
Sure.
It happens.
Yeah. Whether it's the language, whether it's the understanding, there's a lot of factors. So I completely agree with you. On the same topic about, men, not men versus women, because I don't think it's a competition.
No.
But understanding the way things are covered in the sports media. The week of the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather robbery, Logan Paul loses his exhibition
Yo,
matches.
the biggest heist of all time, yo. The biggest heist.
Okay, so the one thing I'll say about this
They
before
were
I get
charging
in,
$50, Julian. They were charging $50, brother.
yeah, but here's the thing. So this is why I'll defend Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather to the end, because if you thought you were getting something different than what you got problems. Like, it's your fault. It's your fault to think that you were going to be getting something else other than what you got. You had a guy who is one pro fight, who was 0-1, come up against Floyd Mayweather, who all of a sudden grew like the nicest, crispest like hairline that I've ever seen in my life. Like his own team that was always with him in this fight didn't even train him for this one because they even knew it was a joke. And Floyd was right. You know, he stole money legally in the most legal way ever.
Absolutely.
From the audience. But you know what? We still tune in. Why? It's the same reason why like 20-something million people stream the YouTube versus TikToker boxing farce that was even worse than the Jake Paul fight against Ben Askren. People are still going to watch. There are always going to be eyes. Why not allow them to make some money? But if you thought that this was going to be like a traditional Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder type fight, you made that mistake. That's not on them. You need to check yourself. But SportsCenter that week, Logan Paul loses 17 SportsCenter posts about the boxing match. The same week, Simone Biles, the most decorated U.S. gymnast of all time,
the GOAT,
wins her seventh, literally the GOAT, wins her seventh gymnastics title. Do you know how many posts SportsCenter had about her?
I would hope at least one or two. I would hope.
Zero.
Hey, Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. He wasn't lying.
I think one of the hard things you're going to look at is the sport of gymnastics. Number one, that's always going to be a little bit of a factor. So you're not going to be able to break in to the mainstream that SportsCenter has. Baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, UFC, boxing, right? Like those are going to be your front page. Why? Because it casts the largest net, which I understand. But when we're talking about social media, we're not talking about like SportsCenter hits on like television or segments or any of things like that. We're talking about social media for a user that has like 7 to like 20 posts per day. You couldn't have one in 7 days for Simone Biles.
You know what?
Crazy.
I want to Google how many black people work for SportsCenter. A black woman, actually. I want to Google that. No, real talk, because it just shows that these guys don't have proper, like, they don't have proper representation. Yep. Because if you had one black woman that gets to direct the social media, they would have, because I know the Shade Room posted her. I saw, listen, I've even seen Bleacher Report post her, right? So again, it just shows that SportsCenter, who's on your team, because y'all missed the ball. And I also think that a lot of, like, come on, Julian, a lot of men do not respect women athletes. Like we know this. They don't mind tennis a little bit because they wear skirts. Sorry, men. That's what I said. I'm just saying what I say. I'm just saying, y'all.
Talk about it.
I'm just saying, but when a woman's playing in her soccer uniform or basketball, y'all energy is not the same, but she's playing in a little dress, right? I'm just saying.
Okay, so soccer may be a little bit different. Those shorts tend to be on the shorter side.
Listen, I know. Side. And volleyball. Listen, men love women in volleyball. Men love love watching beach volleyball women. Men love, like, certain sports. Again, men, I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, my brothers, I'm just saying like what it is. Okay, I'm keeping it 100 here on this podcast. But I just think that for me, right, growing up, my first sport love was basketball and gymnastics. Dominique Dawes, oh my gosh, seeing a black queen do what she was doing back in the 90s, I was in awe. I want to be I was too tall at the time, but I'm like, gymnastics was the best thing ever. Gymnastics and basketball, Michael Jordan, right, in the 90s. That was my two loves. And so for me, the market for gymnastics is there. Like, it is there. There's so many gymnastic lovers. I just think that the main media doesn't care about it because they can't make money off of it because their meets aren't televised. Like, I get it. It's all business. But like you said, like SportsCenter, they're an American company, right? They're US based. Yep. So you have one of your own who is like historically doing harder moves. Like she's doing things that hasn't been done ever on this planet.
Yeah.
You understand? This girl is the GOAT. Like we're living, watching, witnessing the greatest of all time, and you can't even give her one post. Disrespect.
Yeah, I mean,
Disrespect.
Sean Johnson's another one. I mean, the time that people tend to pay attention to the gymnastics is during the Olympics. So obviously that's the hypest time because that's when it's getting the most coverage, right? Why? Because it's an actual event on a day and it's dedicated to that. They're going to have beat reporters, they're going to have cameras, they're going to have all the footage that they need. It's really easy for them. So you can't even say or justify that they get love during the Olympics, but that's really the only time that we get to see something like that, or like a Sports Center top 10 get like a viral moment where Simone Biles, and I mean, it's crazy because I saw more posts about what she wore than what she accomplished. Right?
Let's talk about it, Julian.
Like it was embroidered on her uniform, a goat, because she's the greatest of all time. And I saw more posts about her outfit than what she was actually able to accomplish. And right there, again, we talk about it's not enough to just mention her name, but let's talk about what she's able to accomplish, because what she did is nothing short of incredible.
Like we're living at a time of one of the greatest, like people call MJ the GOAT, or they call Kareem. Listen, we're witnessing a GOAT right now in our lifetime, Julian, and also talk about this as well. A lot of anchors that work at these media companies always say that it's pretty racist at these sports media companies. Sports Center has been called out, ESPN's been called out. Hence why we're seeing a lot more Black or people of color independent podcasts around sports, because we understand that they don't really want us. They want the ones that they can vet and can control. True. Right? And that's the thing. That's why people now are looking more like avid fans are moving to like Clubhouse or other places to talk, because they don't respect the typical ESPN anchors anymore. They don't respect it. Like I know people are like, you know what, Janelle, like I will put on a podcast or I'll put on this before I play ESPN.
Yeah.
And I really think that is going to be a market that's going to blow up in the future, where if you're a sport fan and you want to hear the real talk, yes, you might go to ESPN because of Woj, whatever, for updates. But other than that, you want to hear real people talk about real sports.
And that the two people that I know that do that the best, Janelle, Nelly J, and Fahim Francis, aka the host of the Good Rookies podcast. The one thing I want to ask you before I let you go, last thing, you talked about GOATs, you said a few names, give me your top 4 GOATs all time, any sport, and then I'm going to ask you one final question.
Okay, so my top GOAT on my GOAT mountain, thanks to Julian's great analogy that day about Mount Rushmore. So Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali.
Ooh, this guy.
Muhammad Ali, Serena Williams.
It's a good one.
And my 4th, because I'm a huge fan of the sport and what he's doing is insane, Tom Brady. Like, I can't. The man is crazy.
This is my guy.
Tom Brady.
How
about you, though? Who's your 4 GOATs?
Okay, so I got Serena in there. I got Tiger. Tiger is my GOAT. I got MJ. And I got Gretzky. I mean, Gretzky's like the one name that gets forgotten about the most. I mean, maybe it's a Canadian thing, but like...
No, Gretzky's amazing. Like, to me, it was a tie between Gretzky and Tom, but because I'm a huge NFL fan over NHL, that's by default, but yeah.
The crazy statistics, and I might butcher this because I don't know it off the dome, but it's like if he had no goals, like if you took away all of his goals, he'd still have more points than the next highest person, which is like insane to me because it's like he's so good and he's got records. Every record in sports will fall at some point. I truly believe Gretzky's records will stand the test of time.
That his record will, like Julian, it will never. ever be ever topped. No, yeah, you're right. 100%.
So the last thing I want to ask you then, you give me your Mount Rushmore, but if you had to say like a singular, the greatest athlete of all time.
Why do you do this to me all the time?
Because
why you try to?
So we do like greatest athlete of all time. You have to pick one to talk about. Who's it going to be?
The reason why I'm picking this one is because he helped me when I moved from Trinidad to here, and my parents were going through a divorce, and my mom was a single mother, moving from house to house, and everything was unstable as a child. But my mom, she did it right by us, of course. The only person that was consistent in my life at that time was Michael Jordan. And that's so I have an emotional connection to MJ that's beyond sport. It's like an emotional like connection to him. So he's my GOAT of all time.
I like that. For me, it's between two people in a non-major sport. To me, it's between Tiger Woods and it's between Serena Williams. And the only reason I give an edge to Tiger Woods over Serena is because Tiger Woods introduced the game of golf to more than just white people. You had Spanish people, you had people of color, you had people all over the world pick up the game of golf because they saw what this man did. And he dominated. I mean, he owned the fact that on a Sunday, he wore a red shirt and everyone was wearing their red Nike polos on the golf course because they wanted to be him. Yes. Sure, everyone can get their MJ jersey and everyone wants to be like Mike. That's like the joke. They made a movie with Bow Wow about it.
Yep.
And what Serena did, obviously inspiring like a Sloane Stephens and a Naomi Osaka and all of these other women. I just find like what Tiger Woods did is transcend the game of golf and opened up the ability to have character where we have like his feud with Phil Mickelson. What we're seeing right now with like Rory and Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth and all of these guys, like he inspired a generation of people to play golf and he made the game better and he made it much must watch, right? Like, I don't know how many people tuned into the French Open final for the women on Saturday. People don't. I didn't.
Honestly, if that's Serena Naomi, like, I don't really care.
Whether Tiger Woods is coming off of surgery or Tiger Woods is in his prime, everybody was watching Tiger Woods play on a Sunday.
Agreed. That's so true.
I
watched golf because of him. I didn't watch golf until he played. Like, and actually got clubs. I actually used to golf because of Tiger. So you're absolutely correct.
There you go. So
and sorry to add to my GOAT, why MJ is also a GOAT, because he made basketball profitable. Before MJ came into the league, the NBA was not balling. When he came to the league, he was probably one of the first North American stars that was global before Tiger for anyone. Yeah. I remember like someone said that they thought they were popular until they went with MJ to like China. And they're like, or something like that. They're like, wow, like, because MJ was just that global face. Even now, this guy sells a shoe and it sells out. So anyway, yeah, like he monetized basketball to a point where now athletes are getting sneaker deals. Like what he's done, I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, no, but like, I love your story about Tiger. I think that's beautiful. And I think Tiger, like, and now like we see people of color and women of Asian descent playing golf, playing like these sports. So it's good to see these amazing athletes transcend, like you said, the world of sport, man. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Listen, thank you, Nelly J, for once again joining me today. If people want to hit you up on social media, where can they find you?
So first of all, you got to hit up at Good Rookies. Okay. That is our handle for social media. So Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Okay. For my personal page, it's at Nelly_licious. And if you want to get some jokes, some laugh, you got at Sippin' with Nelly J. And that is just, I post memes and crazy stuff, y'all. But you go laugh every day. You go laugh.
This is true. The meme page, absolutely killer. We'll link all of the information in the bio. Podcast links, YouTube link, Instagram, all the social media. For my guest, Nelly J, I'm your host, Julian Ortiz. The Big O Podcast and the Good Rookies Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts. So make sure to subscribe and leave a review. Also available Spotify, Google Podcast, or wherever you choose to get your podcast, with full episodes available on YouTube. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button so you can stay up to date with all future episodes. For my guest, Nelly J, I'm your host, Julian Ortiz. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a great night, everyone.